Hey guys, Kessler Guy here, back with another episode of Is It Worth It? This time I'm having a look at Medieval Engineers, a game I have really played quite a bit of, and it's really the most viewed and most played game on my channel. So let's go ahead and hop right in and determine, is Medieval Engineers worth it? So Medieval Engineers, as you know or may not know, is a game about placing blocks in a sandbox world with a medieval theme. And the blocks in this game are all subject to physics, or the game's interpretation of physics, although they are really quite accurate, I think, for an early alpha game, which, by the way, this game is early alpha. So the developers are asking for about $19 and some change for this title, or $24.99 for the deluxe edition, which comes with the soundtrack to the game. So with all that in mind, let's have a look at what this game is and what there is to do. So when you load up the game, there's a single player and a multiplayer option. You can host your own server or you can join another. For the most part, you're probably going to spend most of your time in single player just building things on your own, and that's really what you do even in multiplayer, is just building things. And that's pretty much what the game is. It's a sandbox game, like I said, so what else are you going to do? You're going to build and try to have fun. If you aren't into just building and entertaining yourself, then this game probably isn't worth it for you right off the bat. So in the block menu here, you have a variety of blocks that you can choose from, although it is relatively limited at this time. I'm sure they will be adding more and more blocks as the development goes on. And once you select the blocks you want to place in the world, just place them down, drag them out, and there you go. That's what you do pretty much. Just use those blocks like Legos and build a structure that you can be proud of. Now, of course, there's more to just building and such. There is a very, very early survival mode in which that mode introduces barbarians. Barbarians are your main antagonists, although all they really do is just run around destroying king statues, which you are, for some reason, tasked to defend, or not, because if they destroy them, really nothing happens. In addition to barbarians for the AI in the game, there is also Peasant Ai, and what these peasants do is really very pointless at this point in the development, is they can either be miners or woodcutters or porters, which collect the resources. So miners, as the name suggests, so seek out stone and mine the stone blocks. The porters collect the stone blocks and bring them to a stockpile location marked by you with a little flag. And the woodcutters, again, as the name suggests, cut down trees. And the porters, again, they collect the logs that are chopped up by your woodcutters and bring them to a stockpile. But so far, there's really no use for the stockpile materials, so no matter how much stone or wood you collect, there's really no point, because even in survival mode, it's essentially just creative mode without flying, and you have the ability to die. Now, when you move to multiplayer mode, it's pretty much all more the same, except there's more players, and it's a little bit more glitchy. Main thing I've ran into is just trying to manipulate objects in a multiplayer server. If you aren't the host, can be hell. The blocks tend to vibrate uncontrollably and have a tendency of killing you unexpectedly. So one of the main things about this game that really drew me in to buy it, which I haven't covered so much just yet, is structural integrity. I mentioned that very early on when I was describing the game, and what structural integrity is exactly what it sounds like. All the blocks in the game are subject to physics, a semi-realistic interpretation of real-world physics. So when you build a structure that isn't structurally sound or doesn't have the proper support, it will most likely collapse on top of you, and if you're in survival mode, the falling debris will have a chance to kill you. Now, what makes me so excited about this is not just the fact that there's a developer actually doing this, is the potential for fun when multiplayer is more properly implemented, in that you'll be able to have massive siege battles. On multiplayer servers, you build catapults, you build trebuchets, and you shoot them at the enemy's towers. Just imagine being on top of a tower when it's shot down and you go down with it. Scenarios like that are what really draws me into the multiplayer experience. It's terrifying and awesome at the same time. Multiplayer really has a huge potential for fun, and I can't wait for that kind of stuff to happen. But as the game stands now, it's still very, very basic, and there's not a whole lot to do. Honestly, the amount of gameplay that's in the game is dependent on the user themselves, because once you run out of goals and things to do, you're pretty much done with the game. If you're not a creative person, then you're gonna get bored pretty fast. However, if you have a goal of building a giant city, and you can do that in this, although the whole city will kind of look the same because of the lack of variety in block textures. But nonetheless, like I said, it's kind of up to the individual person and how entertaining this game will actually be for them. For me personally, as you can see by my channel, it's been pretty entertaining, although I will admit I have gotten a little bit bored of it as of late, because everything I build just seems to be the same at this point. So let's look at the good and the bad of this game. So on the good side, structural integrity. That is like the main reason for me to buy this game. That is the only reason, really, why I bought this game. It's just really enjoyable and impressive, in my opinion. In addition to structural integrity, one thing I didn't cover so much, but I think is actually pretty important, is modding support. Keen really encourages modding. In fact, the Steam Workshop has over 5,000 mods as of this video. Another pro, and this one can kind of go either way, is that you get to experience the game as it's developed. It's an alpha game, so you kind of get a voice in what's gonna happen. Although for many people that's kind of a con because they want the finished product. They don't want a somewhat buggy early version, although this game is very stable. And the last thing I have on the pros list here is the potential that multiplayer has. It really has the potential to be the most fun part of this game later on in the development. I can just see massive siege battles occurring between a couple of factions, and that's really exciting for me, but of course that's a long way off. Now on the con side, main con for a lot of people, like I said, is just the fact that it's an early access alpha and they're kind of asking for 20 bucks to test their buggy product, although you do get the final product, but for a lot of people they just don't want to be a part of that. Another con, this is kind of a personal opinion of mine, it's that the block selection is kind of limited right now, although mods do kind of rectify that slightly, but it's still kind of frustrating that there's only really 2 textures as far as blocks go, and they're kind of bland and boring. And lastly, for cons, multiplayer. I know it's a pro for me, but multiplayer as it is right now is currently just a placeholder. They took the code from Space Engineers and stuck it on here, I guess to satiate the desires of the masses who play Medieval Engineers. But as it stands now, it's pretty glitchy, and it's just not that good. So with all that in mind, the question still remains, is Medieval Engineers in its early alpha state worth it? Well, as much as I love this game, I'm really gonna have to say no, it's not worth it. It's just too early for the average user. Now, if you're the kind of person who doesn't mind playing an early alpha title, then by all means, pick it up. It's only 20 bucks, not a big deal. But if you're not into the whole alpha scene and you can't handle bugs and you really just need a game to tell you what to do, then this isn't the game for you. I would say overall, this game is not worth it in its current state. So anyway, that's all for now. I did this review a little bit differently from my last one. It's completely unscripted. All I have is about 5 bullet points to keep me on track of what I need to do. So if you enjoyed this review style, let me know in the comments. If you hated this review style, of course, let me know in the comments. And be sure on your way out to hit that like and subscribe button. And one last thing, be sure to check my description for links to my Twitter and Steam group, so you can always be in the know when I'm doing shit. Anyway, that's all for now. I'm Kessler the Guy, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye!